So I'm sure you heard about Carson Palmer, right? Big name quarterback coming out of USC. He was number one overall pick in the 2003 draft, taken by the Cincinnati Bengals. In his rookie year, he sat behind this guy. Yeah, you remember him. Well, anyway, Carson Palmer would be the starter in his second year and bring the Bengals to a respectable 8-8 record in '04. It's not bad. And after a great '05 regular season, he signs a $118 million extension, and everything was peachy. Until they played against the Steelers a couple weeks later in the playoffs. Yeah, ouch. Kimo von Oelhoffen, who, fun fact, was drafted in the 6th round by the Bengals in '94, ended the hopes of Bengals fans, and not even this guy could save them. Palmer did make it back before the beginning of the '06 season like he promised, but he was never the same. For the next 5 years, the Bengals saw the playoffs only one more time, and that was in '09, and were booted out immediately by a rookie quarterback that had taken the league by storm. Anyway, after the 2010 season, Palmer demanded a trade and was willing to retire if his wish wasn't granted. He sat all season until a familiar face was in need of a quarterback. But what if the Raiders hadn't made that trade? What if it wasn't on the table? What if Carson Palmer had actually just retired and never laced up his cleats again? Let's take a look and see exactly what could have been, specifically for the Raiders, seeing as the Bengals story doesn't really change very much. With Palmer sitting out in 2011, the Bengals would still need a quarterback, and they still would have drafted Andy Dalton. He was a fringe first-round talent with mobility and upside. He was a natural fit and a natural redhead. Meanwhile, in the AFC West, an old buddy of Palmer's was finding some success with the Raiders, Hugh Jackson. He was the new coach in town over there, and Jason Campbell was his quarterback. After finishing 2010 at 8-8 and 6-0 in the division, by the way, the Raiders were looking to build on that momentum. They got out to a nice 4-2 start until, let's just say, Jason Campbell needed a vacation. Now, in the original storyline, the Raiders traded their 2012 first-round pick and their 2013 second-round pick for Carson Palmer. Those picks became Dre Kirkpatrick and Giovanni Bernard. But remember, in our story, Palmer stays retired, so those guys may or may not ever become Bengals. Who knows? The Raiders only needed a placeholder when their quarterback went down. They didn't need some new guy to come in and take over the reins and get a contract extension. Jason Campbell was a pretty solid guy, okay? He was taken with the pick immediately following the Aaron Rodgers pick. Yeah, you remember that draft. Alex Smith went number 1, Aaron Rodgers falls down. The very next pick after Aaron Rodgers was Jason Campbell. So you gotta believe that Hugh Jackson knew what he was dealing with. He was winning as a starter in Oakland and just unfortunately had that injury. So you also have to remember Al Davis backed Jason Campbell. Al Davis, if you remember Al Davis, rest in peace, he was that guy. He was that owner that was going to fight you tooth and nail, just win, baby, and he liked to throw the ball deep. He liked fast receivers. He liked big-armed quarterback. So, yeah, he could have went out easily, traded for a guy like VY, McNabb, Kyle Lorton. Kyle Lorton couldn't even get the start over Tebow. So you can make that trade, but that's giving up picks. That's giving up future. You're building here. You're already about a 500 team. You have your quarterback for the future. Hugh Jackson really liked Jason Campbell. Jason Campbell was a proven winner. You have to remember that Jason Campbell was taken with the pick right after Aaron Rodgers. So Alex Smith went first. Aaron Rodgers dropped. Campbell was right after Aaron Rodgers. So instead of going out and making a trade and giving up picks, why not go to the free agency pool? And in free agency, you will find in October Jake Delhomme. Now, if you wait too long, in real time, Jake Delhomme is picked up by the Texans in November, and so that wouldn't be an issue. But seeing as Jason Campbell was hurt in October, Jake Delhomme's still in play, and he signs with the Raiders. He's still got something left in his tank. He wants to give it a go. He knows he'll start over Terrell Pryor or anybody else in Oakland, Kyle Bowler, Andrew Walter, whoever the hell they were going to throw out there. And he joins the team. He starts off kind of rough. He loses the first 3 or 4 games in a row. And then he kind of gets it together. The team ends up going 7-9. Not bad. And you keep your picks. And you got to give Jake Delhomme a farewell NFL tour. You know, he ends up retiring after the season. Almost won Comeback Player of the Year. Good, feel-good story. In the offseason, Jason Campbell signs a 2-year extension. Give him a little bit more time. Hope see if he's an injury-prone guy, or if it's just a freak accident type of deal. And Hugh Jackson keeps his job because he didn't go out and make boneheaded decisions and like really push for the signing of some 32-year-old quarterback who says he's willing to retire. Now, keeping your first-round pick, obviously the Bengals wouldn't use that to get Drake Kirkpatrick. Instead, the Raiders use it to select Chandler Jones, which is in addition to Mario Williams, who they pick up in free agency because the Broncos pick up Peyton Manning that year in free agency. So now it's about rushing the passer. You have a solid offense as long as McFadden and Campbell can stay healthy. And now you're working on your defense, which is atrocious at the time. So to go 7-9 with that defense was a feat in and of itself. So you come out this year, you pick up Mario Williams, you pick up Chandler Jones, you try to get it going. You get your young guys some playing time. You have to cut some loose ends here. There's some big contracts. There's a guard you have to cut, safety. You know, replaceable because they're really nothing much. There was no big time players in that defense at that time. So you don't give up much. You build that defense around your defensive line now. So your front four is starting to become solid. They were running a 4-3 at the time. So to have Chandler Jones and Mario Williams, that's pretty formidable even today. Pick that up. They have another 8-8 year. They're still meshing, still getting that defense right. Hugh Jackson is on the hot seat. He's got one more solid year left in him. Again, the Bengals don't get Giovanni Bernard by way of the Raiders' second-round pick this time around in this draft. Instead, the Raiders actually trade back in the first round to sign Manti Te'o. They pick up Manti Te'o as their first-round pick late in the first round. A nice, young, solid linebacker that can be a leader. He's tough and battle-tested. He's already had his issues with the fake girlfriend and whatnot. In the second round, they're like, what made us great? We need that secondary. The Raiders' legendary secondary is not to be shunned here. They got Nnamdi's no longer with the team, so now they need somebody they can build around. They need the next Charles Woodson, so they go out and get Tyrann Mathieu. You know, they get the Honey Badger out of LSU, and he's their second-round pick. So they're already winning here with Manti Te'o and the Honey Badger with their first couple of picks. So keeping Darren McFadden, they got to take some of the workload off of him. So they grab Latavius Murray late in the draft. So going into 2013, the team is revitalized, they're invigorated. You know, they got the defense going now, they got the offense solid. They go out, they sweep the Chiefs in the division, they sweep the Chargers. They get swept by the Broncos, however. Close games. One of them was in overtime. And they make the playoffs. They make the playoffs as the 5 seed. The Broncos are the 1 seed. And it's a clash to be remembered. The Raiders are coming into Mile High ready to go. And it's a close fought, highly contested bout. And it comes down to the end of the game. Jason Campbell shovel passes it over to Darren McFadden, who runs it up the middle for a touchdown, about 7-yard touchdown or so. Peyton Manning gets the ball back, 1 timeout, minute and a half to go. He's driving the team. They get to the Oakland's 37-yard line, and he looks deep for Demaryius Thomas on a double move. The Honey Badger's back there, reads it, plays it nicely, picks it off, sends the Raiders to the Super Bowl. It's amazing. Crowd goes wild. They have like a mini black hole there. So Carson Palmer's sitting at home retired watching the game like, interesting, you know. Anyway, back over here to our realm of what could have been. The Seahawks meet the Raiders in the Super Bowl. The Seahawks are down 13-16, driving late. Russell Wilson drops back to pass. Mario Williams comes off the edge and it looks like he makes Russell Wilson fumble. He definitely makes contact with Russell. Russell's definitely caught off guard. They review the play. Under further review, Russell Wilson's arm was moving forward, making it an incomplete pass and not a fumble. The Seahawks carry that momentum to a 3rd and goal line stance where they hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, and he puts the game away for the most part. Raiders do get the ball back. Jason Campbell gets an ugly injury when Michael Bennett wraps him up and swings him to the ground. So now Terrell Pryor comes in and he immediately throws the game away. Sorry, Terrell Pryor fans, but that's just how it would go. Seahawks win the Super Bowl. The Raiders lose the Super Bowl. Raiders get the 31st pick of the draft and they select Derek Carr. Jason Campbell decides to retire, and that is what could have been had the Raiders kept their picks and Carson Palmer kept his butt on the couch. So I'm your man Arvizi. I will have more of these for you to come, and thanks for listening.